Gupta, the Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray tried to call Prime Minister Narendra Modi over the shortage of medical oxygen, the shortage of remdesivir, a drug for COVID-19 treatment, but he was told the Prime Minister was on a visit to pole-bound West Bengal. That's what the Maharashtra State's Minority Affairs Minister Nawab Malik has claimed, accusing Prime Minister Modi of being busy in elections while Indians are dying.
देश में कोरोना के मामले 2 लाख से अधिक हर दिन आ रहे हैं। महाराष्ट्र में भी 60-62 हजार का आंकड़ा है। महाराष्ट्र में और देश में ऑक्सीजन की किल्लत है, साथ ही साथ रेमडेसिविर की दवाओं की भी किल्लत हो गई है। हमें लगता है ये रवैया घातक है। देश में लोग दवा बिना मर रहे हैं। 20 लाख इंजेक्शन एक्सपोर्ट नहीं हो सकते, कोई पॉलिसी सरकार नहीं बना पा रही है। महाराष्ट्र सरकार खरीदना चाहती है तो बेचने वालों को रोका जा रहा है। हमें लगता है ये कौन सा रवैया केंद्र की सरकार अपना रही है? क्या ये भेदभाव का रवैया है? क्या महाराष्ट्र में रहने वाले भारत में हैं कि नहीं, ये केंद्र की सरकार को बताना पड़ेगा।
And the Prime Minister's office, the BJP, the government, of course, are refuting Maharashtra Minister Malik's allegations, saying that Prime Minister Modi himself has been reviewing the state of the oxygen supply. He did this in this meeting on Friday, and that the government is in constant touch with state governments. Now, a central union minister has hit back. Piyush Goyal has now been tweeting saying that he's saddened to see Uddhav Thackeray's what he calls gimmicks on oxygen. He tweets, "We are producing 110% of oxygen generating capacity." He claims that Maharashtra has received the highest quantity of oxygen, and goes on to tweet that Uddhav Thackeray needs to stop this daily dose of shameless politics, and claims that Maharashtra is suffering from an inept and corrupt government. Let's go across to Saurav Gupta for more on this. Saurav, of course, this is becoming hugely political, but what are the facts that we know? What does this statement that has been put out by the Chief Medical Officer of Maharashtra say?
Well, the fact is that what all of this seems to stem from is that the Chief Minister's office tried to connect the Chief Minister with the Prime Minister. This is what sources have been telling us, and the Prime Minister's office informed them that the Prime Minister is away in West Bengal. This was after, yesterday evening, and several hospitals did complain of shortage of oxygen. And while Piyush Goyal talks about the production of oxygen, while it's not so much about the production rather than the transportation. Transportation of oxygen is a challenge, and it's in this regard that the Chief Minister of Maharashtra has asked for help from the military also. To involve the military in transportation of oxygen safely, because that's something that becomes a challenge. Because there is, while production can happen, how do you transport that oxygen to healthcare facilities? Because what you run short is of the logistics of cylinders, of vehicles to transport oxygen safely. That's where the challenge lies, and that's something that perhaps the state wanted to discuss with the Prime Minister's office. But the Prime Minister, as we know, is campaigning in West Bengal. Now, in all of this, what comes to light, and this is something that several people have flagged, that is it wise to continue election campaigns in the time of a pandemic like this, when the government's focus should be solely on combating the pandemic rather than an election? And the COVID fight needs center-state coordination. For every thing the states need, even for vaccines, whether it's for vaccines, whether it's for oxygen, it is all monitored and controlled by the center. So allocations are being done by the center. So the state is not quite independently capable of managing these things, because at the end of the day, the control lies with the center. So all of these things are being discussed, and what seems to have emerged is that...
That said, Saurav, given that very important point that you've just raised over there, has the Prime Minister's office returned the Chief Minister's call yet?
As far as we know, not yet. But this is something that perhaps the people concerned can clarify. But as far as we know, not yet. And that's something that perhaps is a problem, because what you need is seamless sort of at least communication between center and state. And what is happening is that there is, it is becoming a political issue, and and obviously, of course, the responsibility of managing the state lies with the chief minister. But there is also the fact that a lot of controls, like I was saying, lies with the center. And unless these things are not addressed by the center, the state can't do much. For example, vaccines. Maharashtra wants to scale up vaccinations for majority of the population. The center hasn't given that permission, nor has it allocated that supply. The same thing seems to be happening with oxygen, and with oxygen the trouble is more with transportation rather than production.
All right, Saurav Gupta reporting from Maharashtra, where the Chief Minister says he tried to reach out to the Prime Minister in regards to the COVID crisis in the state, one of India's states that has faced the worst attack of COVID cases, but has not been able to speak to the Prime Minister still, as the Prime Minister is campaigning in a state election. The Prime Minister is on a campaign in West Bengal.